This is World War I by Grant Duncan and Francisco Rodriguez. The start of the war. The central powers or axes were Germany, the Ottoman Empire, which is now known as Turkey, Austria-Hungary, and Bulgaria. The allies included France, Great Britain, Russia, and Italy. Of course, there were many more to both sides, but these were the main and important ones. Technology of the War of the World, also known as the Great War and World War I. Many of these changed warfare throughout the time period, and many of them are actually banned today, but some of them are still used. They included machine guns, or heavy rapid-fire artillery. These were mounted on the ground and usually consisted of about 2 to 3 people, one to shoot, the other one to, reload, change out bullets, and the third one, as a standby in case one got shot, so mainly 2 or 3. This would be effective against mainly infantry coming in, for it could be shot very quickly, and it could be, of course, shoot many projectiles, but shoot many opponents, but would not be very effective against, hardware, we should call it, tanks, and of course, planes, but, The next would be grenades. Of course, these are used for mainly, it could be used for tanks, but mainly infantry. For many large groups, could be killed with one grenade. So they were highly effective during this time period, especially in, up front contact in the war, because this was very, close contact war. Submarines and U-boats. This would be used in the oceans for, underneath the radar attacks, surprise attacks. This would be very effective in killing, or destroying ships without anybody knowing. This is very effective. Mainly used, by Germany or up east. That would be very effective. Poison gas or mustard gas. This also known as chemical warfare. This would be used mainly around this time, especially in the trench period. This would be used extensively. So now it is banned, actually. This is one of the laws of, war. This would cause not only psychological trauma, but would also kill millions and millions. So it's very bad stuff. Of course, the next is airplanes. They were, as seen on the right, they were newly developed and were still being perfected. So they wouldn't be used too much, but still were very important to the war. Zeppelins, mainly used in Germany. They would be very effective in carrying large bombs or a large supply of bombs to attack the enemy bases. Of course, these are very large, so you need large plants to build them, large to ship them, and many workers to build and run them. So they were highly extensive and gave a lot of jobs to the labor force in the surrounding areas. The next would be tanks. Of course, they're still around today, so they're very effective technology. They'd be used mainly against infantry, but not too much during this time period because, of course, they're newly developed. And a lot of time in trench warfare is hard to shoot the enemy within the trench. So a lot of the times these would not be as useful as maybe poison gas, of course, or maybe even a grenade or machine guns. The next would be trenches. These left geographical scars on the earth, tens of years later. Up until today, we still see them. These trenches were known for having, known for creating diseases, and not creating, but spreading, because of the close contact between the soldiers within the trench. And then when it would rain, it'd get muddy, and mud would start flowing in, and water would build up inside, and a disease or a fungus known as trench foot would form. It's almost as a form of athlete's feet, where on the bottom of the soldiers' feet they would develop a fungus, and it would tear away their foot. So that would it'd be a very large cause of deaths, or many going to the hospital at this time. This also created a land space not known before, known as no man's land, between your trenches for your side, the Allies, and the Axis trenches. between these two trenches, no one would want to walk there, or I guess go to the other side, because it's you versus the guy in the trench. That's why it's called no man's land. Within no man's land, there, of course, is barbed wire, which is one of the next ones. This would be used to stop, I guess, infantry from coming straight for you, for they'd have to rarely go over. You couldn't really go over, they're pretty high, but mainly go around. Yes, that'd be all there. The causes of World War One. The causes of World War One include European nations' imperialism. This wasn't only present in European nations, because it was a major source of economic benefit, as well as many other factors. This promoted nationalism, so pretty much wherever imperialism was, there was nationalism, especially a high rate of it, especially in Europe, where both imperialism and nationalism was high. But this occurred in other nations as well, which was a major leading factor to World War I. Militarism was another one, which basically means building a strong military force if needed to use. Not necessarily using it, but having it there just in case. Another one would be alliances. Many alliances formed before the war. This caused in A country fighting B country, and then C, D, E, F all getting involved just because A and B are fighting. This would form a smaller war into a larger fight. It'd be very substantial. It would be a huge difference. The next one would be assassination of Franz Ferdinand, who was the Archduke of Austria. This caused many, I guess as you could say, protesters, but very many angry and very many upset about this, so it would cause more of a reason to start a war. The next is the effects of the war. 16 million died, and that's not including all injured, all in the hospitals, all with the athlete's feet fungus, any with diseases, there was many more than this, just 16 million. It's also psychological altering to millions, not only from biological warfare, but by many other means, by the shooting, the bombs, the craters formed by them, ground flying everywhere, and then also that close contact with other soldiers within the trench. $186 billion in costs, not only to one nation, but many. This was a substantial amount during this time, so it was very present as an effect of the war. Eventual banning of chemical warfare. This was huge because chemical warfare was a huge, very substantial and prominent technology during this war, because it killed so many and was very effective. It was so bad that they needed to ban it, because it would cause many to many to die, of course, but many to get disease, many to get sick and have to go to the hospital. So it was filling up their hospitals very quickly, and especially during trench warfare, it'd make it worse, because you could just fire some of the chemicals within the trench, and many would suffer. More would be geographical scars, as we talked about earlier, caused by trenches and craters and no man's land. These are still present today. Many of them are, actually. Another would be governmental changes, including republics and socialist ideas. New ideas began to form after the war, because they saw what countries won, what they were doing well, and the countries that lost, what they were not doing well. So they wanted to change and improve the government structures, so many of these ideas began to form. The American view. There were three views. One, isolationists. Now, when you see this word, you should think isolate. It's to stay out of trouble. So in this case, staying out of the war. They just wanted to step aside, let them deal with it. But this, I guess, couldn't be done too much because of our alliances. We didn't have too many, but The next would be interventionists. When I think of this, I think of intervene, which means to join. In this case, they should join with the Allies. They didn't think of joining with the Axis, just the Allies. The next is internationalists. They said you should join only to solve problems and promote world peace. So they were there to say that we should join just to end the war, just to stop all this fighting and I guess war. Yeah. Of course, most of the time this doesn't work because you get joined in and it's hard to supply, I guess, both sides to defeat each other or just to end it completely. Because when you fuel one side, the other side gets, I guess, jealous of you almost. Like they see you promoting their opponent, so they want a piece of your, I guess, resources or materials. So they'll get mad and attack. Important battles of the war. The first one is the Battle of Somme in 1916. It took place between July 1st and November 18th, 1916. It was a strategic victory for the Allies as it forced the Germans to withdraw 40 miles. The Allies would include the British and many other countries that had alliances with them, and of course the Axis was Germany. They withdrew 40 miles from which they already owned, so it was a huge step back for Germany, of course, and pretty much all of these will be. The next is the Battle of Verdun in 1916, the same year. It took place between February 21st and December 18th, 1916. Just kidding. It was fought between the French and the Germans. The French managed to recapture much of the ground they originally lost to Germans, including Fort Douaumont. 100 Days Offensive is the third one, in 1918, 2 years later. It took place between August 8th and November 1918. It was a huge victory for Allied forces, causing the German Empire to sign the Treaty of Versailles, humiliating them, which was the cause of the beginning of Nazism. Of course, many say this ended the war, but when is World War I really over? Many consequences of the actions during that war proceeded to be present years to follow, such as the geographical features or many hospitalized, of course many dead, and so on, and new beliefs forming. So when could World War I end? The next is just additional facts that we found, I guess, pretty important. One was the Christmas truce. This was an odd event, actually, that doesn't occur anymore, and I'll tell you why in a second. But this event occurred 5 months into the war, where during Christmas, both sides, of course, them stuck in their trenches because they wouldn't come out in no man's land, because it's no man's land. They would come out to play soccer, or come out to celebrate with each other. Just the overall, I guess, day. It caused spontaneous ceasefires, and the two sides exchanged gifts and socialized with the opposing side. Now, the reason that wars and battles don't have this anymore is because, think about it, you'd come out and have fun with the other side, and you get to meet many people from the opposing side, the, I guess, axes, or what you think is the enemy. Now, meeting these new people and having fun with them causes you to build relationships with them. And how are you supposed to fight a war against someone who's your friend? So you'd be stuck in your trench or shooting at the enemy, and you'd be like, well, Bob over there, he's my friend, so I guess I'm not going to shoot him. I'm just going to shoot Bill. Of course, this would cause many to, I don't know, I guess, not obey orders of the officials just because they were their friends. So they stopped this. So this no longer happens today. Next would be women who worked in TNT factories saw their skin begin to turn yellow. This is called toxic jaundice. I guess it's just because the materials within the TNT, of course, as you know, at this time, many women, or all women, couldn't fight in the war. So many of them joined, they needed the money, so they would go to factories to work. And they would, of course, in this one, they built TNT. And, of course, the women's labor would be huge for the war because it provided so many resources and useful items that could be used within the war. As we talked about earlier as the technology, like they would build, I guess, I don't know, they would develop the barbed wire, or I guess supply shovels to dig the trenches. So many of this work